Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian and back. Yes, it's Friday. And sorry, I apologize. Yesterday I was traveling, so we had some issues. We weren't able to be able to do the take. But I'll tell you what, it was another record-setting day. Of course, it seems like every single day we say that, and it's only because it's true. And so yesterday you look at the Dow, and it didn't look all that great early on. As a matter of fact, it looked a little bit bleak. We were down about 150 points. We started in the afternoon to get in this little bit of that rally mode, and we actually finished barely in the green, but we finished up about 15 points, traded over 35,500 early on. By the way, we got another big day today. At least we started that way, but we'll get to that in just a second. NASDAQ actually was performing very, very nicely. Similar path. It was down a little bit early, and then it started to make this nice move to the upside, and it actually closed up about 50 plus points yesterday. So a nice move from the NASDAQ, and we'll get into what was really powering that move in just a second. But meanwhile, S&P, I just got to point that out as well. Another all-time highs, closed on those highs. So amazing how the markets have rallied and how we've come out of this pandemic from a stock market perspective, although there seems to be some lingering things going on out there. You wouldn't know it by looking at the volatility index, however. Underneath 16, we're trading right around that 15 and a half sort of a range, and we're getting a little bit lower and lower, it seems like, each and every day. We were not too long ago, we were in the 17s. That seemed like it was a little lower, 16s, and now here we find ourselves in the 15s. 36 million contracts trading yesterday, so we had some really solid volume once again. Apple back up on top, 2 million contracts in Apple. There was a big, monstrous trade yesterday in Apple, as a matter of fact. Got me excited. I might even be talking about that today because I will be on the halftime report today as well. So I look forward to that. Hopefully you'll be there. 2 million contracts of Apple. You had Palantir hit 1.4 million contracts. Tesla, about 1.3 million contracts. That was the million contract club right there, and 36 million. So a nice, big, broad spread across so many different names. And yet, we've got these great volumes that I talk about each and every day. Tech finished a little bit stronger. That's not surprising. However, what is the pressure that we've seen most of the time, not every single day, but the semiconductors. Yesterday was one of those days, down about 1% or at least close to that level. But you look back over at Tech, Apple, nice 2% move to the upside. A name like Apple, 2%, that's actually a pretty monstrous move to the upside. Tesla, a move about 2% to the upside. You look at Salesforce, up 2.5% to the upside. You're getting the idea. Microsoft, up about 1%. Those big names powering the markets forward, specifically in the NASDAQ, but of course, Apple sitting there as well in the Dow. So Nucor just continues to be this name that pops up each and every day, it seems, and has been moving to the upside in a big way, up another 2% yesterday. We did have crude sort of moving back and forth and actually finishing a little bit below that 69 level. So that's something that I think a lot of folks are obviously keeping a very close eye on, the energy traders and the rest of us that are obviously involved in a lot of the different energy trade each and every day. But I will tell you, from the semiconductor perspective, Micron, Western Digital, throw in Applied Materials, KLAC 10 Core. You look at all of that, you look at the SMH, and you can see what I'm talking about. Little bit of pressure put on that. Now it's had some very solid moves. We've had a huge run out of there, so you would expect at times some pausing, some pulling back, but need to point that out because that was something that did stand out yesterday, despite the fact that the NASDAQ was moving to the upside, powered by mostly the big tech names. So we come in today, and again, as I mentioned, we got some highs. Yep, we don't even have to go through all of those, but you look at the Dow. The Dow starts moving to the upside. It's up about 60 points in the pre-market. It's then up over 100 points. And then we get in that first half hour, some of the news that we're going through. Rick Santelli did a great job talking about that. Next thing you know, bang, we pull back all the way, basically call it flat. We were up about 10 points. The last I looked, right before coming on here, we were about flat on the Dow. And as a matter of fact, the NASDAQ has just not been moving at all today. So far today, it's been down 10 points, up 10 points, down 10 points, up 10 points, and just sort of shifting back and forth. You got crude still underneath 69, so that's a little bit of a drag on things. You have the 10-year, which was trading about 135. That's sort of moving around just a little bit, and the financials actually moved from being relatively flat early to a fairly significant pullback very quickly in the last, call it 30 minutes or so, and the financials really started to slip. Nothing was down more early on than energy. Energy was down a decent amount. It was the leader to the downside, but everything else about 0.3% or so. Now you look over and you see financials actually starting to pull on the markets, definitely influencing what we're seeing going on in the Dow. Volatility still hanging right around that 15.5 sort of an area, and actually even pushing a little bit lower. Take a look at Disney. Now, we talk about different stocks all the time. Disney is interesting. We got two big earnings plays from last night. Disney up about 3%, maybe even a little bit more, but maybe even closer to 4%. The numbers were solid. There's no doubt about that. You look at their streaming numbers, and that was the focal point. They smashed on those numbers as well. And so that's a name that has moved to the upside. Now, with all that being said, it's still not even all that close to what its highs were when you go back to March, but a nice solid report. There is some concerns out there as we're listening, and especially when we look over at Airbnb, whose numbers look very, very solid overall in terms of what they put up, what they're projecting. But there is that caution there because they're addressing the idea that the Delta variant and where it's been moving was in India in the spring, now sort of spreading across not just the US, but all parts of Europe and all the rest of that. All those concerns are out there. And that stock seems to have been getting a little bit more hit to the downside based upon some of that, forecast. So that was down about 3 or 4% last I looked. That could have changed a little bit because things do change really rapidly. Upstart. I'm going to start with some of the unusual. Upstart. Not a name that we talk about a lot, but this is a name that's been rocketing to the upside. We had some big call buying right out of the gate today. 3,500 of the August 200 calls. So we don't have a whole lot of time for these to perform. Stock was trading just underneath 193. As I say, they're buying the August 200s. They were paying $3.60 all the way up over $6 for these calls. So they are not inexpensive, but a big play on a stock that looks like it's not only moving to the upside, but maybe breaking out to the upside. And that's what it looks like. That might be some of the play that we're seeing here with some of these options. Second one I've got for you is IGT. Now, I talked about this one, I believe it was Tuesday. I was on the halftime report. We were talking about this one. I think it might have been my final trade because I'd seen some option activity in there, seeing more option activity in there. 10,000 of the November 21 calls were bought today. Stock was trading right around 20. They're buying the 21s. They're paying a little over $2 for those. And just so you know, I never get a chance really much to talk about this when I'm on air because it's so quick that we've got to do it. This is my air. I can be here as long as I want. But I will tell you this. They were hedging this. They're buying the 21s, selling the November 25 calls against that trade. So taking a little bit of premium from those 25s to balance out what they're buying with the 21s. All that really means is you're capped off at that number of 25 plus whatever the dollar amount is that you paid. And that's where you're capped off. That's as much as it gets, unless you choose to buy those back, roll them, and whatever else. But a call spread saying, hey, look, IGT's been on the move. We think it's going to break out to the upside. This is a nice big trade. And we've been talking about everything being extremely short term. This is a November option. That is not extremely short term. As a matter of fact, in any model that we go through, that's going out in time and buying a little bit of time. That's why those have a little bit more premium in those options as well. Folks, I got to tell you something. Get educated about the derivatives world. It's exciting. We love it each and every day. I get my thrill. I'll have my thrill on when you see me on the halftime report today as well. We got Mr. Wonderful. He was part of our big program last year. We still got that to talk about, but that's way out into October 1st. But I can't wait for Las Vegas. It's going to be great. Folks, have a great day of trading and have a great weekend.